webinar, DSCSA and the Verification Router Service, Timelines and Updates. Thank you for joining us. My name is Shelley Pack, and I will be your moderator during today's webinar presentation. I would like to get started by introducing today's first presenter, Herb Wang. Herb is our VP of Marketing here at rfxcel. Herb has worn a number of hats during the 5 years he has been employed with us, which include but are not limited to the management of our professional services team, management of engineering projects, collaborating on the development of our product roadmap, and initiating program management organization. Herb's presentation today will provide a DSCSA brief overview, as well as insight into the Verification Router Service, or VRS. We understand that questions will arise as we move through the presentation, and given the overwhelming interest in this topic, we will do our best to answer as many questions as we can while on the call today. If by chance we do not get to your question during our allotted time, we will send you an email response following the webinar. Since you will remain muted for the duration of the call, we ask that you use the question section available inside the webinar menu, located along the far right side of your screen. At any time during the call, please feel free to post a question inside the appropriately labeled section of this display. Herb and I will both be notified of the question as it comes through, and we will address questions following the presentation in the order they were received. Joining us during our presentation today will be Atul Mohidkar. Atul is the CTO, Senior Vice President of Engineering for rfxcel. He oversees all aspects of engineering, is responsible for implementation and support, and will be providing a brief demonstration of rfxcel's Verification Router Service during the last 20 or so minutes of today's presentation. Atul will also remain on the line to assist with the question-answer portion following his demonstration. I see a handful of names have appeared since we started in. Please allow me to welcome those of you who just joined. As I have stated, please note that questions will be addressed at the end of the presentation in order they have been received, located along the far right-hand side of your screen. If Herb should feel as though your question is specific to your organization, we will be certain to follow up and provide personal attention for your answer. Thank you again, and I will now turn control over to Herb. Enjoy the webinar.
Great, Shelley. Thank you for the intro. So just really quickly, my name's Herb. As Shelley mentioned, I'm in charge of marketing, but my background is most of my career has been in professional services or implementation. And I think that's kind of a unique feature of rfxcel. We're not a heavy marketing organization, and as part of developing a marketing organization, one of the things we purposely did was we didn't want to do this just solely as a sales function, but we want to view this as a function where we work and provide information to the industry and help people in the industry, not just our customers, but all participants understand kind of requirements that are coming down. With that, before I kind of jump in and cover the slides, Atul, do you want to go ahead and just make any kind of final comments?
No, this is Atul Mohidkar. I'm a CTO. I head up the engineering and product management groups. I'm responsible for the product, the architecture, and the roadmap. So welcome, everybody. This is going to be, this is an interesting topic, as you all aware of, and hence have joined this short webinar, and we should just get started.
Okay, great. Thanks, Atul. So with this one, for the agenda today, we're just going to, so we went through a brief intro. We'll just do one more slide after this one, just a quick overview regarding rfxcel. I'm going to start this off with a VRS overview. We're going to talk through kind of the need for VRS, the various components in the flow. Atul will jump in kind of halfway through that and kind of provide some of the details. But then Atul will go ahead and complete this one. He's going to talk about, provide VRS update and demo. So rfxcel has been participating in the HDA VRS pilot efforts, and he'll go ahead and provide the latest updates in terms of what we're experiencing, what we expect, how the industry is responding, and he'll provide a brief demo in terms of how VRS works using our implementation. And then finally, we'll go ahead and just open up for hopefully 15 minutes of questions. Whatever questions come in, we'll take them, we'll answer them, and as Shelley mentioned, if we're not able to get through them, we'll make sure to come back and respond back to you on those. With that, let me just go ahead and start. So in terms of rfxcel, we have been around since 2003. Our growth has been funded primarily by word of mouth. We've had a tremendous amount of customer interaction and a lot of success. Last year in 2017, we did raise $30 million in Series B funding. That was actually only the second time we've actually taken venture funding, and that was designed to help us grow overseas, since there was a tremendous need for our services, and it was also a chance for us to accelerate some product development that we were working on. With that, the other thing I just want to kind of highlight is this year we were recognized by the HDA with an innovation award for our real-time traceability solution. This is something that we're actually quite proud of. It's something we strive very hard to do, to make sure we work with different people in the industry to make sure that we provide value, not just in terms of to our customers, but to industry as a whole. With that, let me just go ahead and provide an overview of VRS. So VRS, in case you don't know, it's actually driven by a specific portion of the DSCSA law. Specifically, it's the saleable returns clause of the law for wholesale distributors, which is required to go live in 2019 of November. Just so you know, there's basically three components of the law. The first part is actually the requirement for saleable returns to verify the serial numbers that come in. The DSCSA law actually clarifies what verify means. It basically means you need to confirm the product identifier, and it alludes that you need to actually confirm this with the manufacturer repackaging. But what's really driving the need for VRS is the need to respond within a 24-hour period. Now, although 24 hours seems like a fairly long time, given the volumes that the industry knows that's going to be out there, there's no way that any one manufacturer, any one distributor can actually verify this through manual processes. And so with that, the HDA actually stepped in, and they actually did provide guidance on this one. They actually did run a series of assessments in terms of what's the best approach to take on this problem. And in the end, they decided that the verification router system was the right approach. So in 2017 of last year, the business requirements for the VRS were defined. And fast forward to 2018, the development for the VRS solution started. So in Q1, all various industry participants were building a VRS solution. rfxcel was actually part of the pilot group, and we had actually been part of various task force, governance bodies, and technical implementations since the start of VRS. Currently, we are in the process of industry testing. When I turn it over to Atul, he'll go ahead and provide some additional insights into this one. But we are nearing the target end of the VRS testing at this point. We will be going, as we go into Q4, the various participants will be going through and revising their components based on learnings from the Q3 testing, and with the end goal to actually complete everything by Q4 with a final report and recommendation of what to do to go forward. With that note, I do want to kind of call rfxcel. We did start a pilot effort, and because the VRS initiative is so important, and because it's so important that all VRS nodes in the network actually are able to communicate to each other, rfxcel, we have actually opened up our pilot effort at no charge to any participant who wants to test with us. So if there's others who are either looking to test, or if you have an in-house solution that you may be building, you need someone to verify with, please go ahead and feel free to reach out to Shelly via this webinar, and we'll be happy to work with you and talk to you about what's required to participate in the VRS pilot. All right, so this is a slide. This is a diagram from the HDA VRS standards document. This is a diagram of the VRS and its interaction, but we won't present this to you. We'll go ahead and provide a much simpler view of this one because we realize not everyone may want to get into this level of complexity. Shelly, if you can, why don't you go ahead and start transitioning this over to Atul. Atul has a series of slides that he'll use to present the VRS, explain how it flows, and give some guidance in terms of how it works. And then we'll actually go into an overview of our current pilot efforts, and then a demo. So Shelly, go ahead if you can.
Okay, great. Thanks, Herb. I believe Atul is now in control.
Yep. So I'm on the same slide. So this looks gory, so I don't want to go into the details of this, but we have simplified this. The next slide shows the simplification. Here, there are 4 components of this whole VRS ecosystem. One is the VRS itself, so which receives the requests from the requesters, which are distributors, and it routes them to the manufacturers, which are responders. So those are the terms used in the HTA documentation. So requesters are distributors who want to verify the serial numbers and the product IDs, and the responders are the manufacturers and the repackagers. As you can see that there are going to be multiple VRS systems and corresponding LD or lookup directories. Now, the purpose of the lookup directory is to have a database which allows VRS to route the request to the appropriate responder, appropriate manufacturer, or a repackager. So we have, as part of this whole ecosystem, there are going to be multiple VRS systems that will need to interoperate with each other. Also, there are going to be multiple LDs that are also shown by these boxes at the bottom of the VRS boxes. So in this case, the dotted arrows indicate the LD synchronization. So this is the data that needs to be synchronized between individual LDs, lookup directories. So if a certain number of GTINs are sent by one manufacturer to its own LD, that LD will synchronize that data with other LDs in the ecosystem, and that way any requests that are received by the VRS that uses that LD will be able to be routed to the right responder. Now, at a very high level, we have been doing this for a few weeks, if not few months, where we participate in the HTA meetings, and there are multiple groups that we participate in. But we also have an internal team that has been working on this initiative. So there are 4 components. Two components I already mentioned, which is VRS and LD, the lookup directory. And the lookup directory needs to get its data from the responders. So what we have done is, for rfxcel, we have enhanced the RTS system, rfxcel traceability system, to make it as a responder. So that's the third component besides VRS and LD, the responder. The responder needs to receive the request and respond to that request. And the counterpart to that is the requester. So we have also enhanced rfxcel traceability system to be a responder to a requester. So the requester functionality will be used by a distributor, and the responder functionality will be used by repackagers and manufacturers. So as you can see, there are many other trading partners that will appear on, will be part of this ecosystem. Let me go back. Just to give you the full flow, the boxes that you see at the center are rfxcel's own VRS and LD system, but there are going to be other VRSs that we need to interoperate with, and those are shown. The interoperability is shown by these black arrows. So a manufacturer that may not belong to rfxcel or may not have our product may request the a distributor that does not have rfxcel solution may request a verification of serial number to its own VRS, which will route it to rfxcel VRS, and it may be the request may be fulfilled by an rfxcel manufacturer. And the other way around is also possible, where one of rfxcel's requester may initiate the request with our VRS, and that may get routed to our own manufacturer that has rfxcel software, or may have to be routed to another VRS, which has the responsibility to route to the corresponding responder. So this whole ecosystem is being built right now, and we have been not just participating, but kind of leading certain aspects of this. And we have reached out to our counterparts to make the interoperable solution happen. So the whole process was to get all the vendors together, come up with the specification for VRS itself plus LD. The latest status is the VRS specification is finalized. The LD specification is somewhat finalized. The last few items that were pending were the synchronization part, but that is also finalized, which now uses a pull and push mechanism. I can explain that, how that happens to synchronize our LD or any other LD with other LDs in the ecosystem. There is one more issue that is still being worked on, which is the authentication. How are the VRS will authenticate with each other? Also, what is the authentication required for LD synchronization? Because one LD will need to synchronize with all other LDs in the ecosystem. So those are the last few remaining items, and those are being discussed right now. The key point here is the system should be very simple from the requester perspective and the responder perspective. So it should be as simple as going requester sending a request or scanning a barcode. The barcode contains the information that needs to be verified. So the the barcode typically has a GTIN, a serial number, a lot ID, and expiration date. And although it's called product identifier, and people think product identifier could be just a GTIN or the GTIN plus the serial number, but in the literature, the HDA literature, or even in the SSCC or DSCSA law, product identifier has all of these 4 components. So the request contains all those 4 parameters: GTIN, serial number, lot, and expiration date. And that is sent by a requester to the VRS system. And the VRS system is responsible for looking at that particular GTIN and then routing it to the right responder. And so the response contains either successful lookup outcome, which says everything is fine, all those 4 parameters are fine, and here is a success status, or it can fail. It can fail for many reasons. And whether the serial number doesn't exist or the lot number doesn't match with the serial number that for which the verification is requested, expiration doesn't match, and so on. So there are multiple failure tests that have been defined, and so we comply with all of those. There are some non-functional error conditions that need to be handled too. For example, there is some kind of application error, or there is an HTTP, some connectivity error, or there is no response, right? So some of these have been discussed. The technical ones, like application error, HTTP error, that have been defined. No response has also been defined. Now, although the DSCSA law allows 24-hour response time, but that's too long. So there are other guidelines that are provided in the HDA literature about what should be the typical response time. So this is VRS. The next one is the LD, the Lookup Directory. The Lookup Directory can be considered as the database that is used by VRS to make the routing decisions. So the LD lookup, the input to the LD or any lookup is based on the GTIN and the expiration date. Those are the 2 parameters that are used for routing. Now, the LD itself has GTIN. So there are multiple rows, records in LD, in the database. But each record has the GTIN, the start expiration date, and the end expiration date. And based on these 3 parameters, plus the request parameters, GTIN and the expiration date, the routing can happen. So the high-level logic is as follows. The request is sent for a GTIN and an expiration date, and the VRS logic will look at a record, will go into the LD, look for all the records that have that particular GTIN, and it will find a row that has a start expiration date that is less than the expiration date of the particular item being scanned, and the end expiration date of greater than the expiration date that is being requested. So, and this is done, I'll go into the detail, to make sure that the routing happens despite the fact that there may be multiple owners of the same GTIN. And this has been discussed heavily in HDA circles, where there may be a change of ownership of the GTIN from one manufacturer or one responder to another responder. So there may be multiple records in the LD that will have the same GTIN. But using this logic, which is not that complex, which allows you to route the request based on the expiration date to the right responder, even though there are multiple responders for the same GTIN. So the idea there is let's say there's a manufacturer that has been manufacturing that particular GTIN for a number of years, and it would provide the first entry into the LD that says this GTIN, the start expiration date is something, a date in the past, but the end expiration date, when they start manufacturing, the end expiration date will be empty. That means they are the current owner. When the ownership changes, the new owner will add another entry, which will set their start expiration date to be a date in future, plus their end expiration date will be something in future too. So based on the simple logic of routing it to the right responder, in this case, the VRS is able to get to the right responder, get the response back from that responder. Because in the example that I gave, two manufacturers may have serial numbers for the same GTIN. And using the two different entries in the LD, the VRS is able to route to the right manufacturer. LD result also includes the responder who responded to it, so the responder ID, and I'll show that in the demo. The key to this is to make it very simple, and as you'll see in the demo, it is very simple. We made it very simple to be able to send a request from the requester side and get a response. Even I can demo it, it's that simple. But the key to that is also keep the LD entries updated. So because LD is the database that is used for routing, LD needs to be updated, and in case of ownership changes, needs to be updated first by the first owner and then by the next owner. And so the key to this is to keep the LD updated up all the times. And the LD, once it is updated, one LD is updated, there is a push and pull mechanism that is designed to send that update to other LDs so that all LDs remain synchronized. And it is called LD sync protocol, which uses push and pull. At a very high level, once an LD is updated, that LD will publish those updates to other LDs. That's the push mechanism. But the other LDs can also periodically pull, let's say once in a day, asking other LDs, give me the information, give me the updated information within that for the updates that happened within the last 24 hours, and it will get those updates. So you can either listen to the push, the updates that are being sent to you as an LD provider, or you can also do proactive pulling. So here is the data flow that this actually scenario describes both. This diagram describes both scenarios where the VRS receives. So first of all, the products are returned to a distributor that requires the verification of that particular product. So the wholesaler uses its own preferred VRS system to verify. In this scenario one, which is shown on the top, the responder may be connected to the same VRS. So in which case, the VRS will route the request directly to the manufacturer of the repackager. In the second scenario, the VRS can determine that the responder doesn't belong to its own set of responders. So it may have to route the request to another VRS. And that VRS in turn will route the request to the responder, which is connected to that VRS. So that's the second scenario. So at the most, it is expected that each verification will go through at the most 2 hops. One hop is necessary because it will hop from the requester to VRS, but the other hop is VRS to another VRS. And so from the timeline perspective, this interoperability testing between VRS to other VRS is just beginning. We have tested internally the requester to VRS to responder ourselves. We have also tested the requester to our VRS and a responder that is not our VRS. So we have tested that interoperability. But the VRS to VRS, we have reached out to our counterparts, other vendors, to do the interoperability testing between VRS to VRS. So either you get a quality check which is verified, or you get a response that says it's not verified.